Hello, everyone. This is Debbie from Organic Oasis in California, Zone 9B. Look at this. I harvested 7 pounds of delicious carrots, and today I'm going to make creamy roasted carrot soup. I'm doubling the recipe. So I've got my oven going at 400 degrees on the convection bake. And that's because I'm going to be doing 2 trays. I've got my sheet pans with the silicone mats, Amazon silicone mats, and I'll be stacking these in the oven. So now we need to prep the carrots. Get ready and let's get cooking. So here's the carrots. As you can see, I haven't washed them. I just stored them in the refrigerator and with a little moist paper towel in a plastic bag. And so they're perfect. They're still hard. They haven't gotten soft. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to basically cut off these tops here, and I'm going to cut off this part. That'll go in my compost. And then I'm going to go ahead and peel the carrots. Now, if you want to use the peel for making vegetable stock or anything, you would want to clean these really good so that you can actually use the peel. However, I am going to put the peel and the tops and the root at the bottom into my compost. So I'm not going to focus on cleaning them too much. And we have a mix of about 6 different types. And you can watch, there's a little clip I have that I made on the different types I have. So if you're interested in knowing the different types of carrots that I planted and how they look, you can watch that clip. But I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to peel these and get these ready for roasting. Now I am going to we're going to chop off the tops here and just this little bottom section. This is going to go into my compost. Okay, we got our 2 pounds of carrots here. And since I'm doubling this recipe, I'm going to go ahead and weigh out another 2 pounds of carrots. So now it's time to go ahead and cut the carrots for roasting. And you want them all, a little bit the same size, but since the carrots are, they go from being fat to thin, they're not all going to be the same thickness, but they should, we're going to roast it until they're actually, the thicker ones are done. If some could get a little bit more soft, it's okay. They're all going to be basically roasted and then pureed in a blender. We have just 2 pounds of our carrots cut and ready to roast. So we're going to pour in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. Mix it in really good. You can use your hands or you can use a spoon if you want, or tongs. You just want to get them all coated nicely. And once you think you've got your salt mixed up with the olive oil and sticking nicely to the carrots, you just want to get the carrots to be just one single layer, so they can roast evenly. Okay, and now into the 400-degree oven this will go. The carrots have been roasting in the 400-degree oven for 25 minutes. And let's check them and see if they're ready. So just checking to make sure that the knife pierces into the thickest pieces, and it does. The carrots all are nice, soft, and ready to move on to the next step. Now it's time to move on to the next step. And so we're going to take an onion and we're going to prepare it. We're going to cut it into pieces. Now I'm going to put a tablespoon of olive oil in here. And I do not cut, if I don't have to chop onion, I don't do it because it's not my favorite cooking task, because I always get burning eyes and everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the onion in big pieces in here. It's all going to be pureed up anyway. So I don't want to end up with burning eyes and if I don't have to. So now that we're sauteing the onion with a tablespoon of olive oil, I'm going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to just saute this. You can see it's starting to heat up here. So now I have my onion pieces sauteing here. I will saute this 5 to 7 minutes until it's nice and soft. The onion's been cooking for about 6 minutes and it's nice and soft and translucent. So now I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cloves of garlic. I just use this Kirkland, and I just measure my cloves by about 1/2 teaspoon is 1 clove. So I'm just going to put in 2 1/2 teaspoons of garlic. Coriander powder, I'm going to put in 1/2 teaspoon. And cumin, I'm going to put in 1/4 teaspoon. You can put in more if you like, or less. And this soup recipe actually has some variations on it, like 3 or 4 variations. It's got a carrot ginger variation, curried carrot soup, and Thai curried carrot soup. I'm going to post this recipe. I will link in the description of this video. I will link to this recipe. So you might want to try one of the variations. I'm just making the basic one. I'm going to let this cook for about a minute. Now that we've blended these spices and it smells delicious, we've brought out the fragrance in the spices and the onion. Now we're going to add the vegetable broth, and I'm just going to use the organic Trader Joe's. And we just put in 4 cups, so we put in the whole container. If you can afford to use the organic vegetable broth, that's better than if you don't use the organic. All this has in it is water, organic carrots, organic celery, organic tomatoes, organic leeks, sea salt, onion powder, garlic, organic parsley, and organic bay leaves, and organic thyme. If you're going to use non-organic, just remember the least amount of ingredients or things that you don't know what they are. If there's any words in your soups that you don't understand what they are, like guar gum or anything that you don't understand, like a preservative, it's better not to use it. And one thing I've learned is even going with purified water, if you don't have the broth, or say you just can't afford, a vegetable broth or a chicken broth, just use water then, and use a lot of spices to flavor the water. The other thing you can do is make your own broth. I have done that in the past. I don't have any canned and stored right now, so I have to use the package, and Trader Joe's organic is pretty good. Now we're going to put in 2 cups of purified water. Again, purified water. If you live in a city that has good water, that's fantastic. We live in a city that actually has an issue with having some chemicals in the water supply. So I don't like to cook with it, and I don't drink it. So I try really hard. I use the pure water filter system, and that's the water that we drink and we use in our cooking. Now that we've mixed in the 4 cups of vegetable broth and the 2 cups of purified water, we're going to add our roasted carrots. And these have cooled off. I took them out of the oven and now they're cooled off. So I'm just going to put them right in here. The whole 2 pounds of roasted carrots. And they were roasted with just some olive oil and salt. Okay. Wow, this is starting to look so good. So now we are going to, I'm going to turn it on high. We want to get this to a boil. We want to bring this pot to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer and let it simmer for 15 minutes. So the soup has been coming to a boil here. You can see it's almost to a rolling boil. So I'm going to turn down the heat and bring it just to a simmer and let it simmer for 15 minutes. And then we're going to move it into the blender and puree it. The carrot soup has been simmering for 15 minutes. And I'm going to let it cool off for a little bit before I move it into the blender. I was able to fit all of the soup into the Vitamix blender. So I'm going to be really careful though that I don't get any kind of pressure or buildup up here because this is really hot. So I'm going to hold the lid and I'm just going to pulsate it like kind of like this. Just slowly. Now this is nice and blended, but this is a no cream, creamy carrot soup, which is pretty cool. So if you don't like dairy or you don't eat dairy, you're a vegan, you don't want any dairy, it has no dairy in it, but it's a very creamy soup. And now the author of the recipe suggests that you put in or recommends that you put in a tablespoon of butter to make it even more creamy like. But I'm not going to do that. I'm skipping that because I personally don't want the dairy in my soup. But what I am going to put in and what's in the recipe is lemon juice, and it calls for about 1.5 tablespoons or to taste. I'm just going to squeeze half of a lemon from our lemon tree into the soup. So I have my cool gadget here, and I've got my lemon juice. Let me get this so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to lift this up a little bit. So I'm just going to squeeze it right in here into the top of the Vitamix. And I think the lemon juice is going to be a nice add-in, so I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to squeeze half of the lemon right in here. I'm going to turn it around and make sure I get all the juice out. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to do to this soup is to add a little bit of black pepper. So again, I'm just going to put my pepper container right here and just grind it right into the soup. We can then puree it one more time to mix that into it. So I'll just put the lid on, and one more time, hold this and just go really slow. And that is it. The creamy carrot soup is finished, and it's steaming hot, as you can see, and it filled up the whole Vitamix blender. I am not going to plate it right now because I need to make another whole batch. I promised my daughter I would make her a batch, so I'm going to recreate the recipe one more time. And so I'm not actually ready to eat this yet, but I will do a taste test. And it is pretty hot. Oh, wow. It is super creamy, like super creamy and sweet. But that lemon I just put in gave it a little bit of a tang. And it's absolutely delicious. I have a sourdough baguette that I made. A few weeks ago, I made sourdough baguettes. and I froze a few of them. And so I defrosted this one, and I figured tonight, Tomato Tim and I will just have a big bowl of carrot soup with sourdough baguettes. And I'm so excited about this dinner. And if you are interested in growing carrots, they are so easy. And if you watch the video that I made prior to this one, I had 7 bags, and each of the bags was a 7-gallon bag. I had 7 of those, and I just put a different type of carrot in each one. I didn't even bother thinning them, which I mean, I don't recommend that, but if you're short on time, I did not thin them. And by the time when I harvested them, I got the 7 pounds of carrots, about a pound per bag. And this is making this delicious soup. Plus, I'll be fermenting some carrots. It was easy. You know, I didn't have to like really do anything to the carrots as they grew. It was basically kind of hands off. But we got this lovely harvest, and now we're going to eat this delicious soup, and it's totally organic. And the soup is just, as you can see, the ingredients are just awesome, and it's dairy free and vegan and vegetarian and everything, and clean, and just awesome. And it would go great with a salad. There's just so many things you could do with it. And as you can see, the consistency without cream, it is definitely a creamy soup, but without the cream. So I just highly recommend this. Now, if you're not a vegetable grower, or you just don't have the time to do the carrots, believe me, I get it. You know, I was a mom of 3 kids, and I worked, and I know not everyone just has the time to do this, but go to the farmer's market and buy yourself a couple pounds of carrots and try the recipe. And you can also buy store-bought carrots. You can go in and buy even organic carrots from the grocery store. So, but try it. You would love it. You would love it. And this is probably going to be next year. I may even double my carrot harvest just to make more of the soup, because that's how good it is. Now, it can store in your refrigerator for up to 4 days, or you can freeze it for, the recipe says several months in the freezer, but I don't normally freeze soup. We'll eat this up, but it will last for 4 days. So, but anyway, if you like these type of videos and you want to learn more about growing and harvesting and then using what you grow in your kitchen to make delicious food and healthy food for your family, please follow along Organic Oasis in California. We would love you to follow us, and we would love to have comments and follow you as well. If you are growing and learning, or you're an experienced gardener, we would just love to be a part of your community. This is what we love to talk about, and what we love. It's a big part of our life. So let's be a part of your gardening journey, and you can be a part of ours. Thanks for watching.